Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. Today, my guest is Raana Zia, the author of Your Hidden Light. Awaken your power to create your reality. Raana was in the corporate world for many years and decided something in her core was not right and decided to follow her billionaire lifestyle path, hence the book, Your Hidden Light. Stay tuned. It's a great inspirational story for everyone.
Welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Emmett Muckles. Please visit iTunes, Stitcher, or emmettmuckles.com to listen to all the episodes for free.
Hey, Raana, how you doing today?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
I'm good. Welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast, and I want to thank you because I know that you have a very busy life and you have a lot of things that are happening to you. So where have you been recently?
Well, and where have I been recently?
Yeah.
I've been traveling. It's been a very different life for me the last year. I had been in the corporate world all of my career. And had been in corporate finance up until 2016, where I completely shifted my career, spent a year writing a book, and have been spending the last, I would say, few months at the beginning of this year traveling.
Let's digress a little bit because you, like so many other people, are have gone through or are going through or will go through a transformation. And a lot of times in this Western culture, we get indoctrinated with this mode of thought where the perfect successful life is you grow up, you get a career, you buy a house, you have some kids, and then you wait to retire. But something along the way with you happened. How did that transpire?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. How did that transpire? I would say the beginning of it started in 2012 in San Francisco. And at that point in time, you know, in my mind, I think I set the intention that I wanted to move back to the East Coast. I wanted to eventually become a CFO, a chief financial officer, and I wanted the job to take me back east. And in that year, all of that happened, and it happened a lot sooner than I thought it would happen. But there was something within me, deep down, knew that I created it, that I manifested it. It was everything I wanted. And in that moment of just realizing my own personal power to do that, I wondered, what else could I possibly create? And I also had almost a feeling, a strong pulling in my heart area that there was something else that I needed to do. So while I was extremely grateful for the opportunity for this new job to move back east, really pulling at me in my heart area, saying you need to figure out what you really need to be doing. I started reading self-help books. I went to seminars, conferences, traveled, had the fortunate opportunity to have personal coaches as well. And I was really, really searching for my purpose. And at that point, honestly, I was really looking for how do I continue to enhance my material life. I'd already, was able to build so much in my life with my family, my career, my home, etc. But I was looking for more. I was like, I can create more. I know I can create more. I just need to figure out exactly what I'm doing. Because being a finance person, I really wanted to connect the dots, right? And I wanted to get to the most efficient and effective way, right? It's like, what is the most efficient way to get what I want to get to? And what am I supposed to be getting to? So it was a dual thing. I was really looking for how am I able to create these things, and so I can do it more often, as well as what am I really supposed to be doing? So honestly, I think it was just my persistent seeking that I started to come across all different pieces of wisdom that really, really resonated with me, really felt truthful to me, and I was starting to get pulled in realm of spirituality, which I was trying to avoid, to be honest with you. because I thought if I went in that direction, yeah, I mean, I'm sure, like a lot of people, I thought if I went in that direction, I'd be told that, forget about your material life. You should be wanting these things. You need to give up all these things. And somehow I had a conditioned belief about that. But honestly, when I was getting these answers to how to create in my life, I kept asking, but why? Why does this happen? I know this works, but why? Why does it work? And when you ask the question why, it really brought me to this place of everything was created in the spiritual realm. We're spiritual beings. And it really started to open me up into this whole new world. And that was when I really started to begin my spiritual journey.
So let's go back to your family. Where does your family originate from?
Yeah, no, my family, my parents are immigrants from India. My parents are actually, they're Muslim, so I grew up in a Muslim household. So, my belief system was that of my religion. So when I started to get introduced to these concepts, while a lot of things felt so right to me, I did have, these mental barriers to some of the information because it was so different than what I was taught.
Yeah.
So actually, it's chapter 2 in my book where that's the most spiritual aspect of the book. That chapter is called Who You Are. And even in writing that chapter, when I was writing it, I knew it needed to be in there, but I did question if I really needed to put it in there because I knew I'd be challenging people's belief systems, and I wasn't even fully there yet. I'm there now. So when I was writing it, I wasn't.
So what about, did you have any opposition from your community or from your family when you started to go down this path that your heart was guiding you towards?
Yeah. I think it came I know it came as a complete surprise to, my husband and my parents. They were the closest to me in terms of my family, because my story was one of, I knew what I needed to do, but I knew I needed to write a book. I needed to bring this information together, but I was a finance executive, right? I was not known for my writing abilities. I never had aspirations to be an author, but all of this was brewing in my head, and I had not really communicated it to anyone except my personal coach. So when I had the opportunity to actually write the book, and what happened for me is that I lost my job.
Whoa. Wait. Stop.
Yeah.
So when you started on the path, all of a sudden you found yourself jobless. And was that one of those moments where you can either say, oh my God, what am I doing? Or, this must be part of the divine plan?
Yes, it was definitely part of the plan. So I started my seeking journey in 2012. I lost my job in 2016. So by the time 2016 rolled around, I really, really wanted something different. But at the same time, I wasn't going to just walk away from my job. But so when I went into work one day, and I was told there was a complete restructuring and I was losing my job, I knew in that moment I created it, and I knew it was time. Now, I was fortunate because I was an executive and I got 1 full year paid.
Ooh, good.
And so to me, this is the universe telling me it is your time. It is your time to do what you need to do. So I had the spectrum of emotions. I was excited that this was the time for change. And of course, something like this had never happened to me before, so I was terrified. So I had all sorts of emotions happening. It took me about 6 weeks to get myself together to say, you now have to write. And you are a writer, so go, do what you need to do. So that's what happened. And when I did lose my job, my husband, of course, and my parents, they just assumed Raana was going to get another job. She was going to go find another finance job. And I knew I wasn't, and I had to figure out how to let them know. And it was a major transition. It was a big transition for this family. fortunate that I have a very supportive family. And I think for them, it was the initial confusion of, I don't know where this is coming from. And it wasn't until I could finally articulate what I was doing that they could get on board.
Yeah. So I want to ask you some things here, because we are in a transitional period on our planet. We, particularly in America, we are transitioning from this masculine society to a very feminine society where the feminine energy is starting to emerge. And you, as a now author and speaker, and you're coming into your own light, did you see any obstacles during this time that might have hampered your progress?
The only obstacles was myself, and I really truly believe that of myself and of everybody. The biggest obstacle for me was my own fear. My own fear that what people were going to think about me. They knew me one way and only in one way. And this was completely radically different than how anybody knew me.
Yeah.
But I was really, really expressing what I believe is my truth and what I believe is true. And it was terrifying, and fear does paralyze. So a lot of the work I had to do, which is a lot of inner work of not listening to the noise, they say, don't worry what people think about you. And, I was kind of living that. I'm like, now I know what people, now I know what they mean when they say that. And it's hard work. It's hard inner work to do, but you got to do it.
Yeah, so there are some things about you, and this is what I love about your website, is you actually put some things that like most people wouldn't know about me. And one of those things is that you have alopecia, and you wouldn't know it because you carry it so well. Do you find that you have an audience with people who have certain things that they are dealing with, and can you identify internally with something like this? Most people might view this differently as they might view you. Was this a part of your process too, just accepting all that you are and all that other people are too, to let your light shine?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Look, I was hiding the fact that I had alopecia for years. And it wasn't until the birth of my second child, she's 10 years old now, that actually my alopecia got extremely bad. And I had been able to hide it all my life, but now I was going completely bald. And I lost all my hair, and I had to transition from extensions to a wig. And you know what? I'm really good at disguising myself. And honestly, I don't think anybody really knew what was going on. They knew my hair looked a little bit different, et cetera, but I don't think anybody really knew that I actually was wearing a wig. And I was determined to hide it. I was so determined. Even my dermatologist, when I went to go see her, she was completely surprised that I had been, gone into a full wig. So I was doing everything I could to hide it from everybody, even my children initially, because I was afraid of what people would think of me. Again, I didn't want people to see me as anything as less than. So this is my own issues that I was dealing with, and it really put a sense of constant tension. And it wasn't until, I would say, I guess it was 2012 when I started my new job. We were on a leadership retreat, and we were all sharing, stories that shaped us as leaders. And, some of my colleagues were just really open and honest about things that were very personal. And in that moment, I just felt like I owed it to them to reveal my secret, which was I was wearing a wig, I was wearing fake eyelashes, all of that. And that was huge for me. It was huge for me. And over time, I became a lot more comfortable with it and told more people, now everybody. And what I found in my life, right, is that the importance of just sharing your story. And what it did for me energetically, right, it released all of the negative energy within myself and all the tension that I was holding, which allowed me to receive a lot more positive things in my life.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
So one of the things, not one of the things, let's get to the book, which is that you've written, and it's Your Hidden Light. And it's a personal guide to creating your desired life. And the first thing that you come into right out of the introduction is the fact that your inner world creates your outer world. And a lot of people hear that, but they don't really own it. So how did you come to that and be able to pull it out of yourself to manifest it and show it to the rest of the world?
Yeah, and I get and I can relate to everybody who hears your inner world creates your outer world and they just think it's words. Or they think about it intellectually, right? Like it makes sense, if you feel a certain way inside, or if you're good to others and you're loving, then you'll experience that back. Intellectually, people get it, but at the same time, to really understand it, what happened to me is I actually observed things happening in my life based on my thoughts, and they were very specific things. And I give an example in the book where I was interviewing for another job, and I had these things in my mind that I thought were important to me, and other things that I knew I didn't want to do. And I was experiencing an interview process that went on forever, it felt like, for 4 months, where the process itself was reflecting the positive and the negative, and it kept going back and forth and back and forth. And I thought to myself, why is this doing this? I'm so confused. Like, is this job for me? Is it not? And I realized I'm confused. I don't know what I want. and therefore, the universe is just showing me. It's showing me you're up, you're down, you're up and down. You want it, you don't. You want it, you don't. And I finally was like, I get it. I am in control of this situation. Raana, what do you want? Do you want this or not? And then I decided this is not a big enough change. I don't want this. And the moment, literally, I decided on a Saturday of this 4-month process, and then Monday I got the call saying you didn't get the job. And it was like the universe was waiting for me to figure it out. Yeah. And so that's when things started to happen to me like that, where I was self-aware and I was aware that what was happening in my reality was a reflection of what I was thinking when I was feeling. That's when I really got it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why doesn't everybody know this? We are empowered. We are completely empowered.
So in your book, a few of the things that you went through, and I'm just going to go down the chapter list. So it's really easy because she has 10 easy chapters for you to digest. So you go from your inner world creates your outer world, and then this is really powerful. And I haven't read the book. I'm not going to lie about it, but I am very interested when I saw your profile is who you are, which is chapter 2. And that's really important because a lot of people don't really understand who we are, because most of us are just a projection of our history, of our family, of our society. So, how that comes together. But then you go on to chapter 3, which is how to think. Chapter 4, the use of speech. And this gets me going because I am really looking at the world right now, and we have lost our way to communicate so badly because of how we are set up. But then you go on to the power of feelings, and then how to create. Everything is a choice, which is so profound in that simple statement. And choose your story, which is chapter 8, question reality, and then test your power. Now, you've organized this really well. Did it all come to you sequentially, or was it bits and pieces, and then you had to segregate it and see how it flowed together?
Yeah, it actually all came together in my head the moment I believed that I could write the book. Honestly, the moment I knew that I was about to do this and I was going to write the book and I believed I could, what came into my head was the 10 chapter titles. It was going to be it was going to have 10 chapters. It was going to be around, under 150 pages. These were the names. And then I started to write. So I know it sounds a little strange, but that's exactly how it happened.
Actually, that works out pretty well. And see, you've actually given those who are inspiring writers a good way to lay out your project, because I've done it myself. I've downloaded from wherever, whatever the chapters are going to be, and then the fill-in just kind of flowed from that. So kudos to you.
Yeah. And as far as the writing process, being somebody who, this was, my first book, one thing that did really help me is that I just kept writing. And someone who's been in the corporate world, being someone who just wants to perfect a presentation or going over and editing like every single word, I knew that I would never get it done. So I know I just had to keep writing, not worry about how it sounded or how it flowed, and just get all the content and material out there. And so that's what I did. And I actually just kept writing, and I completed the book in 2 months.
Wow, that's pretty good. When you say complete, do you mean from start and it's done, ready to go to people?
It would start, all the content was done pretty much. So at that point, it was ready to go to a professional editor to clean it up.
Very good. So did you understand this process, too, of writing a book, of all the steps that you had to do to make sure that you could actually produce the works, or was it a learning process that you went through as well? So not only were you learning about your feelings, you were learning about this new process of producing a book.
Yeah, it was absolutely a learning process. I knew nothing about it. But that was what was exciting. For me to just completely learn something new was really fun. And it was learning something new, but it was also supporting something that my heart was telling me I needed to do, right? It wasn't learning something new because I had to or somebody was forcing me to. It was, so I really enjoyed the process.
Good.
And I'm still learning, which is really exciting.
I know, isn't it awesome? And also, so with this, you're speaking now too. Were you doing much speaking before, or were all these talents just sitting inside you, and all of a sudden they began to manifest, and you were like, wow.
Yeah. Well, speaking, I've been fortunate in my career to be able to, speak. I'm usually speaking about business results, to a company, to for team meetings or company meetings. So I've had a lot of experience in terms of public speaking, but really never anything but financial results. So this is new, but this is a lot more fun. This is a lot more fun because this really comes from my own heart, and really with a desire that hopefully something I could say would help somebody.
Have you seen where it's made an impact on people's lives? Because you're going out and speaking, people are talking to you, people are reading your book, and what's been the feedback that you've gotten so far?
Well, it's funny. I'm going to tell a little story. So the initial people who started reading my book, of course, were, family members and friends who were doing it because they are my family and my friends. And it's really wonderful to see, people who are somewhat familiar with this type of material and getting their positive responses. And then it's also really fun to see people who've never really explored this type of material and their responses, and how politely, they talk to me when I ask them how did they like it, their responses. So it's really fun to see. But, besides that, I feel really excited and very encouraged because I'm getting a lot of positive response, mainly because, like you just said, the structure of the book, how it's structured, how it's laid out, how things are synthesized. And it really is, for me, about wanting to bring out really profound, deep wisdom in a very relatable, easy-to-read way. And actually, I wrote it in the way that I needed to receive it. And it's really interesting, the intention of how I created the book, getting the response back that it's actually landing on people the way I intended it to land, which is, in a very easy-to-read, very direct. It's very direct. I'm somebody who's like, just give me the answers. Tell me the answers. I want to know. And that's the way I wrote it, just very direct.
I was just reading something. So you threw out this teaser on your website that says, Raana was not your initial name at birth, and that your parents changed your name.
You're going to ask me now?
but I mean, you threw that out there, and then you say it starts with a D, but I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Yeah.
That's just
cool.
Just a
fun thing.
That is good. That gets you interested in what's going on, because I did a little research on you, and I saw that you said something that resonated so deeply with me, because sometimes you go looking for something and you don't find it concisely how you need it. So it's up to you to produce what you need to learn. And that seems like what you did. You said, I wrote a book that I needed in my own life.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. I was finding that there was so much amazing insights and information that was just in all the different places. And I wanted to hold on to it because I needed to synthesize it so I could really understand it and have it as a reminder, so I can be consistently, consciously creating, my positive life every single day. So yeah, I wrote it. I wrote the book that I needed, that I really wanted.
And one other thing, because you told us that you come from an Indian family. Is it Southern India, Northern India, Western India, Eastern India?
Yeah, South Central.
Okay.
South Central.
And you grew up Muslim, and America is predominantly Christian. How have you seen this, with your knowledge that you've opened up from your light, what has been revealed to you about religion as a formal thing versus spirituality?
Yeah. I'll tell you, from a very young age, so from as far back as I can remember, I never really understood religion, right, as an institution. And what I mean by that is that I looked at it as something that was dividing people. But I was also very spiritual in the sense that I believe in God, right, a greater force, a creator. And so the spiritual aspects of my religion, as well as all religions, I completely connect to and relate to. It was the piece that, divided people that I felt that I couldn't connect with. So I would say from a young age, I already had that sense of spirituality, and I would always consider myself a spiritual person versus a religious person. And it's just up until recently, really, that I'm really embracing that and speaking of it, and obviously writing about it. So
when are you going to start doing workshops?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
I knew I was going to put you on the spot with that question, so I was like, let's see how she reacts.
Yeah.
Because I believe
the book just came out, so I'm going to spend some time with this baby for a while before I start going to work.
Yeah, that makes sense though, because I think your core message is so vitally important, particularly nowadays with the way the world is turning in on itself and segregating itself willingly versus going the opposite way. One of the things that, I'm looking at the world is that our spirituality has not caught up with our technology, and we need to seriously take our spirituality and our sense of self and community and move it as close to or surpass our technology as we can. And with people like you, I think we have a good chance to do that. How can we obtain your book, Your Hidden Light, the personal guide to creating your desired life?
Yeah, the book is available on Amazon. It's also on barnesandnoble.com. So those are the two main places to get it. If you're in Canada, it's also on indigo.ca. But yeah, you can find it on Amazon. And I really like what you said about, technology versus spirituality, because that's something that I completely feel the same way about. as well, because, with the exponential increase in technology, it's so important, as humanity, I believe, starts to really accelerate in terms of their spirituality to keep up.
Yeah. It's absolutely true, because lately I've been watching these television shows on Netflix, and, because I seriously am conscious about what I program into my eyeballs. And I noticed that a lot of the new shows are showing a very futuristic view of humans, where we are really tied to machines, where you can't do anything about, you can't really function without them. But it really doesn't talk about the spirituality of the human being, because what I always say during the podcast is we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. And have you taken this outside of the United States yet? Because you were talking about United States and Canada, and in some other parts of the world, they're not so ingrained in technology. Have you ventured into other areas such as India or Europe or Africa to see how it's received?
Yeah, the book is available across the world, actually. And there are people in many different countries that have purchased it. But I have not really yet had a conversation, with anybody who's really doesn't, who already doesn't believe in a lot of these philosophies.
Yeah.
So I haven't come across that yet. But like I said, it's fairly new. The book has only been out a short period of time. But those type of conversations I love to have. I don't really want this book necessarily to be, speaking to the choir. For me, like any of us, like you, right? It's no fun sometimes speaking to the choir, though we do need it, because what I talk about is to consciously create, a positive life. It is a discipline and a practice, because it's not how we've been conditioned to operate, right? We're conditioned to look at ourselves as separate from everything and everyone, and we are not conditioned to believe that we have the power by just shifting and changing our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs and aligning them and holding that alignment, that we can magically create a new world for ourselves. And that is a discipline and a practice. It's everyday discipline. So yeah, preaching to the choir, we need it, because we fall off a lot. but what's really exciting is, talking to people who are new to these ideas, what it does for them. That's really exciting.
Yeah, you and I have kind of similar likes as far as our spirituality and reading, because one of the big authors that you expounded on your website is Eckhart Tolle. And early on, when I began my journey to who I am now, Eckhart Tolle was one of those people that blew me away with his books about the ego and how it manifests. And, today the egos of people are just out of control, and people don't see it. But unless you know what the ego is, you'll never see it that way. And I just want to thank you for writing the book, first of all, for bringing your energy out, because it came from your chakras. Because you keep saying, it was in my chest, it was in my chest. And we know that that's where a big energy center is. But let me ask you this important question. How can people reach you? Your website, your Twitter, your Facebook, your Google,
yes.
Everything.
Yeah, no, thank you. So my website is www.yourhiddenlight.com. So it's very easy. It's the title of the book. And yeah, please follow me on Instagram. It's Raana Zia. It's my name. I'm on Twitter at Raana Zia. And I also have a Facebook page for the book called Your Hidden Light. So those are the places you can reach me on social media. And if you want to contact me directly through the website, you can email me directly.
Awesome. So is that where if someone's looking for a speaker, particularly an author of your nature, is that a good place to find you as well?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Awesome.
And I'm also on LinkedIn.
Of course. You were a business person. You have to be on LinkedIn.
Yeah, exactly. That was the first place I ever was. I was on LinkedIn.
So, do you have any words for the Billionaire Lifestyle audience? And then I have one other question after that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, my main message is that it's so incredible once you tap into who you really are and understand who you really are and start to test for yourself how powerful you truly are. And in this book, Your Hidden Light, I talk about the 4-step process to conscious creation. And it is a process, and the process seems simple, but you need to practice. But the moment you start to practice and you start to see what you can create, it's life-changing. It was life-changing for me.
Awesome.
So I would like to just leave that with, if you're interested, read the book. It's an easy read. And it should give you, some really easy tips to start to apply in your life to see if it can be something that can really shift it to something positive.
And there's one thing. So this one you're going to have to close your eyes for. All right?
Okay.
So you're sitting on your couch, probably watching Game of Thrones.
You read my website.
Watching Game of Thrones. And all of a sudden, you're there by yourself. And you hear a knock at the door. And you get up and you go to the door. You open the door. There's a 18-year-old you. And the 18-year-old you looks at you and says, yeah, I'm about to embark upon this journey. Is there anything that I should know right now?
Oh, my gosh. I would give my 18-year-old self this book. Definitely.
That was a good plug.
It's all in here. It's all in here. This is all you need to know. No. But honestly, I think if I didn't have the book, I would let her know that her thoughts are a divine tool. Nobody told me the power my thinking and my thoughts have. Nobody told me everything was energy, right? And we create with our thoughts. And I would let her know that you are completely empowered. Your thoughts create. And here's the book. Take it. Read it.
Well, that is so awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. And here's some things.
Oh, thank you so much.
No problem. Here's how I close out the show. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to change it up a little bit. What I want you to do is just be able to acknowledge yourself. You can look in the mirror, or you can just sit quietly. Just sit in a chair or sit somewhere, and I want you to imagine yourself. I want you to really try to picture who you really are. Not what the world says you are, but yourself, the part of yourself that you don't let out because you're trying to protect it. But I want you to get in tune with that. And I want you to get in tune with the outer you, which is that physical body. And I want you to love that physical body, no matter whether it's overweight, skinny, too tall, too short, whatever it is. Fall in love with it. But also, I want you to take that in and realize that there are other beings just like you who are having those same issues, same thoughts, same insecurities, and same love. So love yourself and make sure that you love those that may be going through the same thing you're going through, which means another human being. That's human being. Remember, we are spiritual beings having a physical experience, so let's maximize for the time that we have. Till next time, hey, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me on. It was really fun talking with you.
Awesome. And with that, peace.